Your life is calling and it wants you back. So if you're ready to answer that call, then you're in the right place. The Ad Tax Podcast with me, Jasmine. We're having unfiltered conversations about the cost of taking your life back. Because yeah, it's time to know your worth in ad tax. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Ad Tax Podcast. The podcast with me, Jasmine, where I remind you to know your worth and then add tax, period. Okay, so today's episode is the final installment of the Breaking Out of the Matrix series on the podcast. And if you've been binging or keeping up with the show, then you know that this has been a long time coming to wrapping this up. And I'm glad I took the time that I needed to really do this in a more grounded way. And I'm excited to wrap it up, put a cute little bow on it, and then move on to the next thing for the podcast. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Either way, I'm so happy to have you here. And I'm so tired, you guys, but I'm really excited to talk about the last part of this series, which is me deciding that I don't need marriage and that I don't have a strong desire to be somebody's wife anymore, and how that came about. But before we get into that, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. If you are watching on YouTube, hey. And if you're listening on any other of your preferred podcast platforms, please make sure to give this a 5-star rating, leave a review or a cute little comment. And usually on Spotify, sometimes I'll try and put a little quiz in there, and on YouTube as well. So go ahead and take that quiz. I love to hear from you guys, and I hope you're all doing well wherever you're listening, whatever time of day. And I just appreciate you tuning in. So it means a lot, and make sure that you share this episode with another woman or women who need to hear the message that I'm about to share with you guys today. And if this resonates with you at all, again, please leave a comment. I would really love to hear about your experiences and how you feel about the subject as well, especially if you're on a similar journey as I am. So, and then of course, we can't forget that if you are on a self-love journey, self-concept building journey, working on your self-esteem, all the things, please make sure to check out Ad Tax Affirmations. There's a TikTok, an Instagram, and a YouTube. And over there is where I share my advice for leveling up and becoming the main character of your life story again and taking back your life, as well as on my YouTube, where I share subliminals that you can listen to upgrade your self-concept overnight or in a more passive way. And also check out Ad Tax Angels if you are into advocacy work, specifically for animal rights and animal welfare. That over there is the perfect place for you. And if you're just looking for a good cause to rally behind and support, definitely check out Ad Tax Angels, because it's so important for us to be a voice for the voiceless. So that is where I do my advocacy work over there as a part of Ad Tax Studios, and where I plan on in the future giving you guys even more opportunities to participate in fighting for animal rights and animal welfare. But even just something as simple as liking, sharing, and reposting TikToks and stuff like that on that TikTok account really helps to spread awareness. And that is one of the first steps that you can take in helping animals gain more rights around the world, honestly. So definitely check out Ad Tax Angels. And then lastly, If you are interested in downloading any content that I create, currently I have subliminals available for download. Check out the ad tax collection. The link will be in the description below. And for all the things that I just mentioned, they will all be in the link tree that will be linked in the description below. So check out the link tree, browse through everything, see what resonates, and you might find something new that you love. And I appreciate all the support, period. If you haven't watched the first couple parts of the series, definitely go back and check those out if you would like, so that you can at least kind of follow the thread that I've been going along for this series and explaining my matrix in the overview. And yeah, so definitely check that out, but you also don't need to listen to it if you just want to listen to this episode. Totally fine. But yeah, I no longer feel the need to be a wife. And I recently was just pondering the idea that being a wife and getting married really isn't that big of an accomplishment. Like anybody can do that, you know? And I think I was just conditioned from such a young age, whether it was from religion or Disney princess movies or reality TV, and just feeling like marriage was a pinnacle of success and that it meant that I had achieved something that not a lot of people could achieve. And that it was something worth investing so much time, effort, and money into thinking and planning for my life. Like me at 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, I was like planning on being married by now at the age that I'm at now. And that hasn't happened. But it used to stress me out so bad to where I was like planning my whole life around it, as well as motherhood, which I already talked about in a previous episode about why I no longer want to be a mom and want to be child free. But those were like the two things that I included in my 5-year plan or like life goals or my bucket list was getting married and having kids. And it wasn't necessarily coming from a place of me genuinely wanting to, because I understood what it entailed, and it was something that aligned with me because I didn't have a sense of self until recently. But it was just something that I felt like as a woman, I just had to do it because you see women everywhere all the time getting married. There's whole hashtags nowadays with like 2026 brides or last year 2025 brides, and like just big groups of women that find some anchor so much of their identities in becoming a bride and a wife. And I'm not going to go into the deep history of marriage in this episode, but I highly encourage you to do the research for yourself if you're somebody that has been centering marriage in your life, or you feel down about yourself because you haven't gotten married yet, or you see other people getting married and you feel that jealousy come up, or that envy, or that sadness, or disappointment, or whatever the case may be. I highly encourage you to do the research on marriage as an institution, and it'll probably make you feel better about maybe not getting married. And at least not doing it in the traditional way that everybody else does it. And I also feel like not a lot of people talk about the financial implications of getting married. Like when you are a woman and you, like, men gain so much more financial success and social what's the word social currency by getting married than women do. And especially if you're somebody that wants to stay in the workforce and not be a stay-at-home trad wife or something, then you are putting yourself at a disadvantage when you do get married. And just financially, it's just not the best move. And for me personally, if I were to get married, it'd have to look a very specific way, like very non traditional, very like you probably wouldn't even know that I was married, because I'm not just going to be like, oh, I'm a wife. Let me cook and clean for you and do everything around the house, and just like all the stuff that you think about when people idealize marriage. Um, and I just don't really see much benefit in getting married. Like, I have yet to hear anybody really break down the benefits that women receive from getting married. And yeah, so I'm not really sure what the incentive is besides, again, just this cultural and social pressure to get married and become a wife, because, you know, when you hit your 30s and people start looking at you and your family or your community or whatever, and they're like, oh, you're 35 and you're still single. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And again, I think rom-coms and Disney movies and all those things push on this narrative to young women, and even women as we're getting older, that something is wrong with you if you aren't married, or if that's not in your life plans, or like, oh, because you all think about Disney movie, right? You see the princess typically ends up getting married by the end of the movie, and what, the evil witch is old and single. She's never married. And but they always make her ugly and all those things. But think about why they do that. The evil villain woman is always single, and they never have her partnered up with anybody. At least I've never seen it. In the movies that I grew up with, it's always the princess that is getting married. So, of course, you want to align yourself and identify yourself with the princess. So, subconsciously, you're just feeding this narrative that, oh, to be desirable and successful and not some evil, crusty witch that nobody wants to be around, that marriage seems like the right path. Or just because some guy is nice and saves you from a castle or something, like, okay, I guess the next step is time to marry him. But like, y'all didn't vet him, like you've only known him for a couple weeks. Like, even in those movies, the pacing is so fast. Like, they push for you to get married so fast, when it's like, you're signing a legal contract. You don't know who that is. You don't know who that man is. Okay, Prince Charming, what is your last name? Like, who are you? And as much as I love Shrek, like, unfortunately, they do it too. She gets saved by Shrek, and it's like a whole enemies to lovers thing. And then she ends up marrying him by the end of the movie. And it's like, Fiona's whole life was just centered around being married off. And then obviously in the second movie, we see why, because her dad was a fucking frog. But even that is just like so, like, selfish of the dad, and nobody talks about that. Like, he literally promised Fiona to Prince Charming so that he could stay a human, because he wanted to marry his wife, the queen. And it's like, bro, you're just gonna basically sell your daughter off to Prince Charming, and we're all just supposed to be like, oh, wow. Okay. So, you know what? I'm glad he turned back into a frog, because that's what he deserved. But the movies like that, where we're watching them and it's all fun and now I can watch them from a healthier place of like being able to clock it like that. Like everything that I just talked about, I can clock it now because I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing. But at the age of like 13, 15, all those impressionable young ages, again, it's the subconscious, it's literally programming, which is why it's so important to deconstruct these institutions, whether it's religion, marriage, decentering men, all patriarchy, all of those things. And because they're all interconnected, and realizing that we were all sold a lot of lies and a lot of dreams and a lot of fairy tales, and it was intentional. And then obviously a lot of it ties into capitalism as well, and that's a whole other story. But it's all constructed in that way for a reason. And when you're able to take a step back from it, and I highly something that was really helpful for me that I highly recommend is like taking a break from reality TV shows, like the dating shows, Love is Blind, The Bachelor, The Bachelorette. Those are my shows, okay? But I've also never even seen a season of Love Island because at the time when I was really getting into those dating shows, I was like, wait, I am going on this whole spiritual journey and awakening and breaking out of my matrix, that watching these shows where you see the women being so desperate and really putting marriage on a pedestal, or like relationships on a pedestal, to the point where they're like screaming, crying, throwing up because he chose another girl. And it's like, it's a man. There are so many other men. Like, you could, like, and the women are so beautiful, where it's like, you can get another one. Do you see yourself in the mirror? But that's the thing, is I had to stop watching that because at first it would just make me, and it's interesting because in college, before, obviously pre all of everything that I've gone through now, but in college, whenever a new season of like Love is Blind or Bachelor in Paradise, my show, all of that stuff would come on, and if I was single, I would always start to yearn for a boyfriend again, or like a cuddle buddy or something, or just male attention and male validation. And it's so interesting looking back on it now, because at that time in college, I didn't realize that, like, yeah, it's literally programming you to want a man and to feel like you need a man, and to feel like, I was definitely feeling envious of the people on the show, because I'm like, oh, they look like they're having so much fun and so in love, and they're kissing and holding hands and going on dates, and it all looks so perfect. But it's so heavily edited, and then you hear all the horror stories behind the people that do get trapped in some of these TV marriages and sign these horrible contracts. And yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole that you can go down to. It's very interesting. But yeah, so then I had to take a break from watching that stuff, and I'm glad I did, because it gave my brain the space to, again, not be flooded with that imaging and that programming. So, but yeah, they literally want to continue to sell us the idea that getting in a partnership, getting married, having a boyfriend, becoming a girlfriend, becoming somebody's wife, becoming somebody's fiance is some big deal. When it's like, anybody can do that. How about we see more women striving to be more educated, making positive change in the world, building businesses, becoming entrepreneurs, making money, making more money. The amount of effort that they want us to put into becoming a wife and becoming somebody's girlfriend or fiance and all of that. And also the wedding industry, such a scam. So much money that goes into that, when it's like, girl, you could be investing that in yourself, or like buying some land or something. So many ways to use that money instead of dropping 6 figures on a wedding. Because even, let's say I had millions of dollars, I'd still be like, I don't really want to drop all that money on a wedding, even if I have it. Because I'm like, for what? Like, literally for what? But again, we get sold this fairy tale. And another thing that's a part of the fairy tale that we get sold, I don't know if you guys have ever watched TLC, that one TV channel, but I used to love Say Yes to the Dress and that show with like, oh, like Five Weddings or whatever, like all those wedding shows and like the wedding cake shows. Love those so much. They were so great. But again, I was so young but I was just idealizing and romanticizing weddings and marriage from such a young age and like picking out my dress and ooh, it's gotta be this expensive dress and this big cake and this crazy wedding and all this stuff when it's like, for what? Because then the groom is doing what? He's like, okay, let me just go buy a tux and get a haircut and I'm ready to go. And it's just such an imbalance. And you see so much how much stress and pressure women put themselves under because again, we feel like we need to do that when we get married or have a bachelorette party. And yeah, it's just I personally feel like it's a scam. And I think that, again, if you were to deconstruct the whole thing and then still have the desire to do it big, then go for it. Because who knows? Maybe I will get married in the future. I'm not going to say no. But if I do, maybe I will drop some money on it. But maybe I won't. But that's the place where I'm happy that I've gotten to, where I don't feel the pressure and the necessity and like I have to spend a bunch of money or I have to get married in a specific way and I'm okay if I were to get old and still be single. So either way, I'm fine. It could be the one quote extreme where I'm doing $1 million wedding, or it could be the other quote extreme where I'm old, living alone in a shoebox with a bunch of cats and I die alone. Either way, I'm cool. So, but that's the thing. They want us to feel like becoming a man's wife is some big achievement when it's like literally anybody can do it. Like, I'd love to see a woman cure cancer. I'd love to see women fight more for climate change and animal rights and ending hunger and fighting against poverty and fighting for children's rights and all this stuff. Like, there's so much more where we could be pouring our energy to, but I think that them pushing marriage on us is a way to continue to siphon our energy collectively as women and to distract us from making change in the world and for perpetuating the patriarchy. Because if most of us are concerned about being up under a man and becoming somebody's wife, then yeah, we are most likely going to put other goals on the back burner or not being able to devote more time and energy and money into our own personal goals that would change our lives for the better and the world for the better. But in a patriarchy, they don't care. They couldn't care if the world burned. They don't care about women, and that's why they're not doing anything that's why it's up to us to wake up and help each other wake up and start to realize that, like, hey, that's cool if it happens, but we should like start dropping that as an institution, and more of us start to again be okay with being alone. There's nothing wrong with being alone. Your worth does not come from being with a man. Your worth does not come from a relationship. Your worth does not come from a title, girlfriend, fiance, wife. None of those things matter at the end of the day because they're just labels. And they're not, again, they're not that big of accomplishments. Like even now, being in a relationship really doesn't hold that much weight because that thing could come and go. But because people change all the time, right? You could get with a man and he turns out to be insane or something. And it's like, okay, well, now you gotta break up with him. You gotta choose yourself. You gotta put yourself first and break up with him. Now you don't have the title of girlfriend, or now you don't have the title of fiance, or now you don't have the title of wife. Who are you now? What is your identity anchored in now? And that's why it's so important to not pedestalize it and to center yourself in everything that you do and all your decisions and all your relationships, because there's really no glory in those titles. But again, the patriarchy wants us to think that, hey, being a girlfriend is a big deal, being a fiance is a big deal, being a wife is a big deal. It's really not. Like, literally go watch a season of 90 Day Fiance. Like, men will literally get with anybody for a lot of reasons. Like, they don't care, and it's just not, it's just a label, it's just a title. It doesn't mean anything. So I really hope that more women start to free themselves from the shackles of striving for these things and being like, hey, maybe instead of trying to be wifey material, maybe I should strive for, I don't know, doctor or esquire or judge or like president or congresswoman, senator, mayor, all of those things that men are just have been overtaking for forever, and stop settling for, oh, I'll just be a first lady or just somebody's wife on the side with the pom-poms. No, you can do the thing. You can be in charge of shit. And you should be. More women should be. So, yeah, a lot more of us shouldn't just be on the sidelines being happy and content with just being somebody's wife. And that's why I don't feel like I need to be a wife anymore. Again, if for some reason one day there were the conditions where I thought that they would work out for me or it was a good choice, which again, it would have to be very, very specific conditions, then, y'all might see me with a wedding ring on my finger. But other than that, I just don't feel the need to prioritize that in my life anymore. And it's really, really freeing. Like, even when it comes to dating, like, just not feeling like, okay, is this person gonna be my forever person? Like, what's going on? Do I need to start planning and all this? Like, just relieving myself and giving myself the permission to just enjoy dating people and allowing connections to last as long as they last naturally, and allowing connections to end whenever they end naturally, and not feeling like, well, I invested 5 years in this person, or, well, not that long. That would be kind of crazy. But I invested a couple months in this person. Okay, well, let's start working towards being a fiance and then marriage. Like, no, that's just a lot. And yeah, so I'm happy living my life and letting things flow and unfold as they may, and not letting society and the patriarchy scare me into being a single woman, especially as I get older and I continue to go through my 20s and eventually enter my 30s and 40s and beyond and not feeling like I need to accomplish that. Because I have a lot of other things I want to accomplish that have nothing to do with a man and have nothing to do with the ring and have nothing to do with a dress and a cake. And yeah. Also, if you do want to get married still, please get a prenup. I'm begging you. Not enough women are getting prenups, and that's really scary. And if you can't ask your man to sign a prenup without him throwing a fit or making you feel bad, run. Don't marry him. Oh my God, that's so terrifying. But a prenup will literally save your life because you just don't know. You just don't know what could happen. So obviously always use discernment and hope for the best and do your best, but a prenup is a great legal precaution to take when entering a legally binding contract like a marriage. So I really hope that you guys took something away from this episode. If you enjoyed this, again, please like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube and if you're watching on any of your other preferred platforms, please leave a 5-star rating, drop a comment, answer that little quiz if it's there, and also, yeah, leave a 5-star rating if I didn't already say that. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has concluded the Breaking Out of the Matrix series. I hope that you guys found some valuable information from this, that anything resonated with you as well, and definitely leave a message if you have been through a similar journey and have also broken out of your own matrix. So yeah, it's important to take your life back and to really start to look at life and all this stuff for what it really is. But I will catch you guys in the next episode. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, know your worth and then add tax. Hey Diva, thanks for tuning in. If this episode resonated with you, make sure you leave 5 stars, drop a comment, and share it with someone who needs it. And I'll catch you in the next episode of the Add Tax podcast. Remember, know your worth and then add tax.